Hello vinyl community and welcome back to the channel. If you're a first timer, I hope you enjoy the vinyl shootout that we're going to do today. It's a comparison of a MOFI One-Step to a US original pressing. That's coming up next here on the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. Hello, this is David Bianco. Welcome back. So today we're going to be traveling back to 1975. Well, this t-shirt of a place called Peaches Records and Tapes was established in 1975. It was a record chain that was in the Midwest and the Rockies and the west part of the U.S., where they were selling records in Denver, I know, because I was in fact living there from 78 to 79. And it was basically my go-to store. But 1975 is also important because it is the year that the album we are going to be doing the vinyl shootout was released. Specifically, it was released in June of 1975. Now, June of 1975 is significant to me as well because on June 1st, 1975, I graduated high school. That was a big event. And so this album that came out in June of 75 is the Eagles' One of These Nights. And it was, in fact, their fourth album. Their first release was self-titled. I believe that was one of the best albums of that year. I really loved it. Desperado wasn't quite as impressive to me. It had a little bit of that sophomore jinx to me because of maybe it being a little more country-ish. And then On the Border came out, which had some hits, and it was okay. But One of These Nights really, I thought, was an excellent recording and album. So when this came out in 1975 and I purchased a copy, these original covers are embossed with, you can actually feel this protruding, this ram's head. So it's really, really cool. A cover, one of the nicer ones, and then we have the Eagles in the back there in a kind of a blurred kind of a sketch back there, photo sketch almost, it looks like. So this was a great album, and the songs that were on this album were some that you're very familiar with. Obviously, the title song, it was the first song on side one, One of These Nights. That was a big 45, followed by Too Many Hands, Hollywood Waltz, and Journey of the Sorcerer for side one. Side two kicked off with another big hit, Lion Eyes. And behind that, we had Take It to the Limit, another smash hit for the Eagles. And side two was rounded out with Visions, After the Thrill Is Gone, and I Wish You Peace, which was Bernie Leadon's contribution to the album. So my original version, or OG version, was from Columbia's pressing house in Terre, Haute, Indiana, which was about 200 miles or so southwest of where I grew up near Gary, Indiana. So they also had the Columbia Club there, the record club and the tape club and all that. That was based out of Terre Haute as well. So this was pressed there. It was an original in the sense that when it came out, I bought it right away. And I'm going to be comparing that original to the Mobile Fidelity or MOFI One-Step. And this one is special audiophile edition, limited to 10,000 units. And the mastering chain, as they've started to put on the sticker because of the MOFI DSD gate back in July of 2022, quarter-inch tape at 15 inches per second, Dolby A analog master. And that went down, then copied to DSD 256. And that went to an analog console, which is the Ultra Gain 2 system, and then to a lathe to cut for this record. So this album, as opposed to the original being a 33 RPM, this is cut at 45 RPM across two different physical discs. So the grooves are spread apart a bit more, and you have a faster velocity, which means more information can be picked up there to give you a better, more accurate feedback or signal back through the cartridge. That's the theory, of course. So the question ends up being, how did they do? Well, the album actually in the MOFI sounds very, very good. It's extremely quiet, which is extremely important to me. I really look for that in this higher grade cost that we have for this. I'm really concerned about quiet vinyl, and we definitely get that delivered here, which is important. The songs sound great. They sound like they are full. They are definitely a broader sound stage in a sense compared to the original. It is apparent on some songs more than the others. For example, I would say that on the songs that are a little more ballad-like or not as rockin', so to speak, they are even more predominant in that openness. So a song like Take It to the Limit, very airy, very open. There's a lot of echo in there with the singing, and there's a lot of very important hits on the drums and the cymbals in terms of the beat that's set in that song and the pace, and they are very, very precise and very distinct, which I thought, honestly, Take It to the Limit was probably, ironically, they took it to the limit. I mean, I think they really got the most out of that song. I was very impressed with it. At first, one of these nights didn't quite have as much distinction, but as I've listened to it more and compared it, I'm picking up on more nuances in the sound stage and in the imaging of that song, as well as Lion Eyes, which are obviously the most familiar songs. After the Thrill Is Gone, very open, very quiet and precise in the areas where you'd want it to be. The vocal arrangements and the placement of the voices and the distinction of the voices are much more apparent in the MOFI. That is about the same experience I had with the self-titled Eagles album. It too had that very strong vocal distinction and separation and the ability to hear them in a segmented way separately and not kind of crammed together a bit, which is more the audio impression you get out of the original. Not that the original sounds bad, not that it isn't good in its own way and strong. It's obviously a little noisier, and it feels a tad more compressed. That's the only word I can use. Some of the echo effect of some of the voices don't ring out as openly as they do on the MOFI, where they kind of go and they have a little more breath and life in them. And that's honestly pretty impactful when you listen to some of these songs. I think we get to taking some of those effects for granted. I think when we hear them on a 45 or we hear them in the single mode, they're compressed a little more, or we'll hear it that way streaming. And I think we can lose the appreciation for that. But when you hear it on this MOFI, it really shows you what is in the actual recording and what in fact was there that now is more audible and more present in the soundstage, imaging, separation that we receive as we listen to this. And so it kind of breathes life a bit back into the album and gives it a new set of sounds that are nuanced and a new set of voices, in a sense. Some of the voices of Randy Meisner, for example, are a lot tougher to pick up on the OGs than they are on the MOFI. So, overall, is it worth it? I think it is. If this is a top album of yours and you really like it, you're going to hear some great new things. As I always say, the OGs are always very good, and they're, for the money you spend, they're a great value. If this is an album that you really like and you want to listen to it taken to its sonic heights, then I would say that the MOFI is worth making the investment in. I honestly believe that in spite of it having this DSD step, it does in fact bring more to the table and is worth it if this is a top album for you. As always, thank you for watching. If you would and you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. Press that bell down there, and the top one black says all. That'll get you notifications. A thumbs up or like is always appreciated. And comments, what do you think? Give me your feedback. I love reading them and giving you some feedback as well. So for now, as always, thank you for watching us here, and we'll see you next time at our Safe and Sound Texas audio excursion. Take care, everybody.